So it was around 12 to 1 p.m., and during that time, I got around 2 scam calls. Obviously, I declined them both. But then when it got to the third one, I had it. I answered, ready to crash out on who kept calling me, but as soon as I said, "Hello," I started hearing a woman's cries. I responded, "Are you okay?" And keep in mind, I do not know the person, but I also couldn't help but notice how it sounded like someone I knew. But I couldn't pinpoint it since they sobbed and sobbed before they finally responded, "Pick me up," over and over. And by now, I'm just wondering if they knew they were calling the wrong number. And I responded, "Who are you?" Before they responded quite quickly, "You know who I am. Please pick me up." And I was worried ASF. And if I'm being honest, the number looked oddly like it could be from a school, but I doubt it. And then I said, "I think you have the wrong number." And they said, "No, please just pick me up." And I was about to decline, but I was already uncomfortable and had a gut feeling that maybe this person is in trouble, or what if they are missing? And that was pretty stupid to think, but who wouldn't have thought that with a woman crying, saying things like those? And then I responded again, "Are you okay?" Before they cried for a good couple minutes without saying anything. And after that, they declined and I turned off my phone, and being flat out just uncomfortable with all the hairs on my body standing up and getting up to see if my door was locked definitely didn't help. As I thought what might have gotten that woman to frantically call someone, probably their parents, yet accidentally call me, they unfortunately didn't call me back. So I couldn't tell if they were okay, but since that call, everything has been silent, no more scammers, etc. But since then, I've been paranoid. My friend Steven has won the Darwin Awards 20 times, and I am so proud of him. He first won the Darwin Awards when he wanted to tell how hot fire was. So he set himself on fire to see how hot fire was, and he screamed out in pain and died. Then, when he received a Darwin Award for it, he was over the moon, as he had never received such an award before. Stephen had never won anything, and so this first Darwin Award for him was an emotional one. He had always lost at things. Stephen was determined to win more Darwin Awards. Then, when Stephen wanted to see what lava had tasted like, he ate lava. He had to go to a place where volcanic lava is present, and he ate one. He was always fascinated by the taste of lava, and when it killed him instantly, he died in pain. He tried to scream out what the lava had actually tasted like, but he died screaming in pain. To die like this is just excruciatingly painful, and you will even remember it in death. Then, when Stephen collected the Darwin Award for the second time, he couldn't believe it. He had always lost at things, and now he was winning. He thought to himself that maybe he had lost all of his life to help him start winning a bit later in life. The second Darwin Award felt more better than the first time, and he was enjoying life. He remembered how he used to think of his own life before winning. It was a miserable existence for him, and he had truly given up. This was a new sign of life, like he had been rescued. He was so lost before winning the Darwin Awards. He also did things like trying to teach crocodiles how to read by getting into the eater with them. He got eaten, and he won the Darwin Award for the third time, and he was ecstatic about it. It was a judgment. It had to be a point there. He is gone. He was ecstatic about it. Then he wanted to feel what an operation feels like without being put under. So he found somewhere illegal in the black market a dodgy surgeon who did surgery on him without being put to sleep. He died once again and won the Darwin Awards for the fourth time. He was loving life, and as he kept dying and receiving Darwin Awards, a thought had come into me. I tried to ignore that thought, and I wanted to be happy for Stephen for being a winner now, but that thought about Stephen winning the Darwin Awards multiple times, it kept prodding me. I just wanted to be happy for Stephen, and when Stephen had won the Darwin Awards for the 19th time for seeing whether he could fly or not, something had occurred to me. What had occurred to me is that you can only win the Darwin Awards once, because after winning one, you will surely be dead. Stephen, on the other hand, has won it many times. Then, when Stephen won the Darwin Awards for the 20th time, for seeing what will happen to a knife when stabbed into his body, he died and won the Darwin Awards for the 20th time. I then secretly mentioned how it is only possible to win the Darwin Awards only once, as we all die only once. He didn't say anything to me. Then I found Stephen in my dark flat, and he was floating in the air, and he handed me a Darwin Award for pointing out something that others had missed. "You get a Darwin Award for not keeping your mouth shut," Stephen said to me in a demonic voice. I downloaded a vocab app when I started Year 11 literature. I knew I needed an extra push. It notifies you 10x a day with a complex adjective and its definition. Pretty cool, right? But after a month it's getting strange. Apocalyptic, relating to a disaster or final event, often used to suggest impending doom or the end of a period. Inevitability, the quality of being certain to happen, suggesting that something is bound to come or occur. Incipient, beginning to happen or develop, signaling the early stages of something that's about to unfold. A cold, dry feeling gathers in my gut as I examine the final word. 3 words in a day basically telling me the time is running out. I exhale slowly. I'm sure everything's fine. Subjugate. To bring under domination or control, often implying mental or psychological dominance. Cognizance drain. The gradual or complete loss of awareness or intellectual capacity, as if knowledge is being drained from you. Inundate. To overwhelm with an excess of information or tasks, potentially sucking the mind or knowledge from a person. It's night when I get alerted with the final word. Placing my phone down with shaking hands, the words bored into my brain. Potentially sucking the e-mind from a person. What the hell? I've deleted the app. I could be overreacting, but better to be safe than sorry. Taciturnity. The state or quality of being reserved or uncommunicative. A tendency to be silent. I drop my phone onto the bathroom floor, the sound echoing too loudly in the silence. My heart flutters wildly as I check the app. It's gone. So how did it notify me? Abeyance. A state of temporary inactivity or suspension, often implying a quiet, still condition. I shudder, checking my phone in the school hallway. I feel trapped, watched, walls closing in. I glance at my phone. Please, please let that have been the last one. But another word stares back at me. Mutism, the condition of being mute or silent, especially due to psychological factors. I almost burst into tears. Flinging my phone down on the ground, I jump on it as hard as I can. The screen cracks and I half smile. You can't get me now. I swing open the door, lugging my school bag on my back. "Mom, I'm home," I shout, but no sound comes out. I slam my hand over my mouth in horror. I scream wildly. The only sound I can hear is the pounding of my heart. Clutching my head desperately, warnings swirl in my mind. Apocalyptic, subjugate, taciturnity. I mumble in habit. My breath hitches. I dig my fingers into my throat. Mom? Nothing. Abeyance. My voice is strong, confident. What have they done? Silence in the library. The day after Thanksgiving, I pulled into the parking lot of the massive Benjamin Library in Memphis. 4 stories tall, an enormous building. Yet, the parking lot was completely empty. Not a single car. For a moment, I wondered if the library was even open. I had just picked up some food, so I decided to sit in my car and eat. As I unwrapped my meal, I noticed a kid and an older woman walk up to the entrance and slip inside. So, it is open, I thought. After finishing my food, I got out, walked up to the doors, and found one slightly ajar. Pushing it open, I stepped inside. Silence. Not just the quiet murmur of a library. True, absolute silence. No voices, no footsteps, nothing but the distant hum of the air conditioning. Still, I assumed the place was just understaffed because of the holiday weekend. I made my way upstairs, found a comfortable spot, and started reading. 2 hours passed. Still no signs of anyone. No librarians, no patrons. Just me, alone, surrounded by endless bookshelves and the dull hum of the AC. The eerie stillness began to creep into my mind, making me uneasy. I stood up and started wandering, peering down aisles, glancing behind desks, searching for any sign of life. 30 minutes of exploring, and I found no one. The entire library felt abandoned, yet the doors had been open. Finally, I made my way back downstairs to the lobby. That's when I saw her, a security guard, standing there, staring at me. She tilted her head slightly. The library's closed? I blinked. Wait, what? The door was open. I just walked right in. She gave me a long, unimpressed look, then let out a slow, dismissive, okay, as if she didn't believe me. I hesitated. How long have you been standing there? She didn't answer. I waited a beat longer, then turned and walked out, feeling her eyes on my back the whole way to my car. I drove away, glancing once in my rearview mirror. The parking lot was still empty. It had the ring of an old joke. The Pope, the Grand Imam, and the Chief Rabbi met in a top-secret research facility. But it was no laughing matter. "We call it the Religious Manhattan Project," Dr. Jenkins said. "You have built another bomb?" The Imam almost spat out the words. "A bomb I can live with," the rabbi answered, "if it ends the slaughter of Jews as in 1945. "Jewish slaughter?" the rabbi said, waving a finger at him. "What about—" The Pope cut them off in his soft, lilting English. "Let us see what the scientist has to say." In 1990, we decided to see if religion was real, and if so, which one? But how could you discern such a thing scientifically? What of faith? Jenkins smiled his broad, white, neat-to-toothed American smile. "We took a baby from every country and raised them in strict conditions. They could not consume any existing media, whether movies, music, or holy books. Their parents, our team of sociologists, again a multi-country approach, told them nothing about nation-states, history, existing philosophy, etc. They were a tabula rasa." A silence pervaded the room, broken by the rabbi. Setting aside the moral failure, what was the point? Every religious epiphany has come with cultural and historical baggage. Externals that obscured God's message, if it existed. Now, in a sterile environment, a group of humans could find the truth. "I see," the Pope nodded. "An atheist trick. You will say your subjects heard nothing, and religion is a sham." Again Jenkins' beaming smile. "No," our subjects channeled. "Word for word, a philosophy that already exists. Proof." The three holy men stood overlooking a vast indoor town, the centerpiece of which was a giant swastika. "The true religion is Nazism?" the rabbi exclaimed. "Look closely." People of every color walked around in orange robes. Curiously, they swept the ground before them and then bowed when passing a sign. "Nonviolence is the highest religion." They believe, have been told, the planet is a giant organism with which we must live harmoniously. War is an alien concept. In short, remove contamination from other voices, and the true religion is revealed as Jainism. The paragons looked on at those placid Tirthankaras, escaping the cycle of samsara. "If news of this ever leaks, I will unleash a force upon this world not seen since the Inquisition," the Pope said in a near growl. Jenkins turned, baffled, and was interrupted by the Imam. "I concur. All jihads previously launched will pale. But this is God. Jenkins stuttered. "You are seeing divine will manifested and—" The rabbi cut the scientist off. "I agree with my colleagues. You will feel the full force of the nuclear-armed Jewish state." At this, a unique moment in human history occurred, one long pictured as ushering in world peace, but was actually a harbinger of doom. The three holy men linked hands and vowed to preserve the status quo. 4 years ago, November 2020, as a freshly entered high school student, me and my friend decided to go out into the woods and survive the night. We went out into the forest. The forest started on his property, then turned into a forest preserve when the sun was about to set. We were two 14-year-olds who've barely camped or did anything survivalist, but the idea sounded fun. Though the only things we ended up packing was gasoline, a lighter, and 2 of those sleeping bags that are aluminum and meant to keep heat in. With the sun about to set, we had to quickly set up a camping spot. Only problem was the location we went to. We could either camp on the neighbor's property or his by the creek. We ended up choosing the neighbor's, only because of the trees and brush that would protect us through the night from the wind. The entire night, it was simple. We'd take shifts going out, grabbing sticks and throwing at the fire, listening to jazz music in the woods while talking about random stuff. Eventually, though, the stick collection became repetitive and burned up fast, mainly because all the sticks that we'd collect were dry and fizzled away within seconds. So my friend stood up, said he'd be back, and within 5 minutes grabbed enough sticks to last us an hour. We ended up repeating what we were doing the rest of the time until we noticed the fire was going out, but that was the only problem. Something was pacing around us. We heard slight cracks in the distance, small steps around from directly behind us. Not to worry though, we had airsoft guns. Yes, the only protection we technically had in the forest were BB guns and a small knife. When the sounds started, our voices went quiet while our anxiety raised and the eerie silence with tiny crackles of a dying fire were heard. Now the fire was on its last legs, and my friend whispers to me to move back into the brush to give us some camouflage before the fire goes out. We sat there waiting in anticipation, and then it happened. The fire drew its last breath. We sat there, backs in the brush, while our eyes adjusted to the darkness of forests. It wasn't long before eventually our anxiety wavered, and we went to speak again when we heard something. It raced down the pathway of the place we were planning to set up camp. The ground felt like it was shaking, and the sound mimicked the way a horse runs before jumping into the creek. Whatever it was has us in fear, and we sat there as an hour goes by, nothing happening and nothing getting out of the water. We were in fear the rest of the night, not even trying to relight the fire, and decided, we'll go into the sleeping bags and sleeping the rest of the night. We woke up at sunrise, left the camp, slept inside, and returned to the camp with a letter from the neighbor to pack up all the stuff or it'd get thrown away. That's the story, and now let me get into the details. It could have been a deer, but I don't think a deer has the weight to be able to make the ground feel like it was shaking. We were around 20 feet from it. Next thing, it could have been a coyote, but I don't believe a coyote would have been able to make the ground shake either. Now the last thing, that it could possibly be a horse. It sounded way too low to the ground to be a horse. Plus, I feel as though someone would have been looking for it or found a dead horse. The community around there is small. There's a possibility that whatever it was fell into a beaver trap, but when they got rid of the beaver traps, they probably would have found it. I have around 12 of these forest stories. Only 6 of them had something scary happen. This was just the first time we ever did it, and the most memorable. I have pictures and most of it documented because back then I liked to take pictures and videos of the stuff we did.